All right, let's pull back the curtain on how all the systems we use every single day actually get designed. Today, we're diving into use cases. Think of them as the secret language for describing exactly what a system is supposed to do.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to wonder how the apps you rely on get built? From ordering food to checking your bank balance, there's this invisible blueprint behind every single tap. And you know what? That blueprint, it always starts with a simple story.
So what exactly is a use case? Well, at its core, it's not about code or technology at all. It's really just a story. A story about a person, we call them an actor, who has a specific goal and how they use a system to get it done. The key thing to remember is it's all about their perspective.
Okay, that might still sound a bit abstract, so let's make this super concrete with a classic, simple example, the good old ATM.
So let's break this down. The main character in our story, the primary actor, is just the customer. And what's their goal? Simple. They want to get some cash. And the scope of the system we care about right now, it's just the ATM itself. That's it. See? Everything flows from this really simple frame.
Now, this sequence of events is what designers call the happy path. It's basically the story of what happens when everything goes perfectly right. You insert your card, the ATM does its thing, it spits out cash. It's the ideal step-by-step journey to getting that goal accomplished. But here's where things get a little more interesting. That one single system, the ATM, it serves totally different people with totally different goals. You, the customer, you want to withdraw cash. But what about the bank administrator? Their goal is to refill the cash trays or run diagnostics. It's the exact same machine, but it's used for completely different stories, completely different use cases.
All right, this brings us to a really important distinction we need to make. The difference between a business use case and a system use case. It's all about seeing the bigger picture by separating the what from the how.
This Starphone warehouse example illustrates it perfectly. See, the business use case is the what. It's the whole real-world process, completely technology-free. You know, a customer calls, staff picks the goods, and invoice is sent. But the system use case, that's the how. It's the specific things you do with the software. A clerk entering a customer ID, the system showing the price, all the little interactions that make the business process happen.
But, you know, we all live in the real world. Things don't always go perfectly. And this is where use cases really show their power. Planning for all the problems. For when that happy path just ends.
Right, so at every single step of that perfect story, we have to stop and ask ourselves, but what if something goes wrong? Because anticipating those problems, that is the absolute key to building a system that doesn't just fall apart.
And the answer to that question is something called extensions. Think of them as the alternative paths, the detours in our story that handle all the errors and exceptions. They're what turn those scary what-if scenarios into a concrete, actionable plan for how the system should respond.
So if we go back to our warehouse example, right? What if an item is out of stock, or the customer doesn't have enough credit? What if the delivery fails, or a check bounces? See, for every single one of these real-world problems, a good use case needs an extension that defines exactly how the system is going to handle it. We can even take this idea a step further and plan for the bad guys, the malicious actors, with something called misuse cases. So while a normal use case describes what a legitimate user is supposed to do, a misuse case flips it around. It models what a hacker or a disgruntled employee might try to do. This is huge because it lets us build security into the design from the very beginning.
Okay, so with happy paths, extensions, actors, and goals, how do you capture all these details without going crazy? Well, there's an official blueprint for that. A formal template designed to get everyone, and I mean everyone, on the exact same page.
This template is basically a checklist for being thorough. It makes sure you don't miss a thing. It forces you to go way beyond just the actor and their goal. You have to define the crucial context, like what triggers the event, what has to be true before it starts, and only then do you detail the main success story, all the alternative paths, and what you can guarantee will happen at the end.
Now let's quickly clarify a bit of jargon. Stakeholder versus actor. It's pretty simple, actually. An actor is someone who directly interacts with the system. You know, they're typing, they're clicking. A stakeholder is anyone who just has an interest in the outcome, like a manager or maybe a government regulator. So the key thing to remember is this. All actors are stakeholders, but not all stakeholders are actors. And out of all these definitions, the guarantees are maybe the most important. So after a trigger kicks things off and the preconditions are met, The success guarantee is what has to be true if everything goes perfectly. But, and this is so crucial, the minimum guarantee is what must still be true even if the whole thing fails. This is what keeps the system from breaking down completely.
You know, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds here, trying to write the perfect description. But I love this quote because it gets to the heart of it. The goal is not some kind of theoretical academic rightness. It's just about being fit for purpose. Is it clear enough for the developers, the testers, and the business folks to all look at it and say, yep, I get it?
So what about diagrams? I mean, we've been talking a lot about text. Well, you'll often see these things drawn out in what are called UML use case diagrams. They're great for a high-level visual map of the system, but, and this is key, you have to remember the diagram is just the summary, like a table of contents. The real story, with all the crucial detail, is always in the written text.
And writing these isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's a process. You build them up in layers. You might start with just a simple list of actors and their goals. Then you flesh out the happy path. And then, finally, you dive deep and figure out all the exceptions and extensions. The level of detail just grows as your understanding of the problem grows.
All right, so what's the big takeaway from all this? Really, it's about giving you a new way of seeing things, a new lens for looking at how people and systems have to work together to actually get stuff done.
Because at the end of the day, that's what a use case is. It's an incredibly powerful communication tool. Its whole purpose is to bridge that massive gap that can exist between the users who need something, the analysts trying to define it, and the developers who have to build it. It makes sure everyone is reading from the exact same script.
And this final quote just sums it all up perfectly. A use case is essentially an essay. I love that. An essay that describes how a user and a system interact to achieve a goal. It's a story that removes all the ambiguity, making it crystal clear what success looks like and what failure looks like too.
So I'll leave you with a little challenge. The next time you open an app on your phone, just for a second, think like an analyst. Ask yourself, what's the use case here? What's my actual goal? And then, what are all the things that could possibly go wrong? You'll start to see just how much complexity is hiding behind even the simplest looking screen.